We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Fucking thing sucks.
All right, so we're gonna do this thing. We're gonna call it "Fuck It, We'll Do It Live," and we're just not gonna edit any of this. We're gonna just shoot the shit about whatever's been bugging us this week.
Yeah,
So I have
fuck it.
with me tonight, I'm Mike from Turn Leftist, he him. And I got Nick, he him from the Intervention Podcast, and Brandon, he him from Cars and Comrades. How's it going, you guys?
What's up, man?
Pretty good.
Cool. So let's just get right into it. Nick, you want to start streaming this video? The first thing, so everybody's just gonna bring something that's like been bugging them for the week. That's the only idea I had behind this, and it's gonna be just like a loose format. We're gonna shoot the shit and just like rage out about some stuff. So we're gonna watch an Andrew Tate video since this guy is really hot right now.
Yay.
Extremely selfish person. That's all they're trying to do is convince you and teach you to be extremely selfish. Let me tell you something. Depression is not real. Feeling depressed.
All right, I'll pause it.
So you can feel depressed.
So just right off the bat, he's saying like they're trying to convince you to be an extremely selfish person. Like that kind of stuck out to me because it's like that's actually true. Like whoever the they is, like of course people who have no class analysis or no material analysis have to find a shadowy they. And I can only imagine if you try to drill down who he would say that they is, it would probably be some form of, bankers, as we know. But
Right.
I think that is a funny way to like, again, avoid criticizing capitalism, but still make a anti-capitalist criticism. But then the whole depression is not real. Again, it's like this guy's entire thing, just like Jordan Peterson or all these grifters, will be that they sort of stumble on class analysis, but always weasel out of it because they can't actually criticize capitalism. So this whole depression thing isn't real. It's like, I would agree that like most people probably aren't depressed. They just live in a society that they are not adjusted to because it's an unnatural society. But unless you guys have anything, you can keep playing it.
No, I mean, I just wanted to add that, like, in everything I've seen of this guy, to that point of actually getting at a true root of any problem, he individualizes everything. It's all about what I do, my life or your life, or my advice for you, young man, to go out and get laid because you're too quote unquote depressed to be able to do it, right? Like, but it's all of his solutions are just still down to like this individual framework, right? Which again is just an inherent problem of this whole fucking society as it is. So,
not to mention his
point out that I saw this pictures of this guy 3 or 4 times before I realized it wasn't Pitbull.
Yeah, dude, I thought that too. Yeah, I was gonna say, not to mention his like raging emotional insecurity and just like total immaturity that he uses like sort of charisma and his career to justify and kind of weasel out of. But go ahead and play it if you want.
But you feel depressed, and that is a natural biological evolutionary trigger for you to change something in your life. That's your own mind telling you you're unhappy about X. If I went to jail today, I'd be depressed because I'm in jail. Right. I haven't caught depression.
That's a material condition, bud.
Yeah. I'm just upset with my situation. Yep. I have people messaging me all the time. I'm fat and I can't get a girlfriend because I'm depressed. I'm like, no, pancake lover. You're depressed because you're fat and you can't get a girlfriend. Do you understand? Yeah. No matter what the worst thing that could possibly happen to me on earth.
Here, pause it for a second.
Sad, but I will.
Do you guys know where this guy's from?
Hell.
He's got like a weird thing. Like when I heard him talk, I'm like, this guy sounds like he's from Baltimore or something. But then he does the weird thing where he has like his English T's, where instead of like doing a T, he just like stops. And it's like it's a weird thing. So I got to look up more to see what this guy's from. But I'm not going to get into it right now because he gets a lot worse on it later. But just the whole, like you said, individualizing, where he's like, oh, you're fat and you can't get a girlfriend. It's like, well, he's gonna, like I said, he'll get into it later. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Recover, and I will not become depressed because I don't believe in depression. If you're in an old haunted house, right? You have 2 people in 2 haunted houses. One believes in ghosts and one doesn't. You hear some noise in the night. The wind blows, right? The man who believes in ghosts is like, oh no, a ghost. Now he's scared, right? He wants an exorcist. He can't sleep. He's scared about ghosts. He's paranoid. The guy who doesn't believe in ghosts goes wind, whatever, and goes back to sleep. Do you understand that it's the belief that gives it power? Right. If you don't believe in ghosts, the ghost can't hurt you. If you don't believe in depression, you can't become depressed. And I refuse
Okay,
to
well,
believe
if
Okay, so I don't
claim is
believe I'm poor,
promoting
so being
haunted
poor can't
houses,
fucking hurt me. Right? Sorry, Brandon.
if he says that they're in like creepy old houses, they make a lot of noise. But if we're sticking with the claim that they're in haunted houses, then the person that he's being dismissive of is the one that is correct.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, this whole like you cannot apply that at all. Like, I love when people have to remove it because it doesn't make any sense. Like, what, you just stop believing that you were depressed and then you all of a sudden are happy again? It doesn't work that way. Like,
Right. It's like, he's talking about being fat or whatever, right? Like, I don't believe, like, it just doesn't work like that in reality. Like, what he's saying is makes no sense at all in any context. Ugh, what a dummy. How does this guy have millions of followers now? And like, where did he even come from? Like, this is like a pretty recent
okay,
phenomenon,
so
isn't it?
from what I understand, he was a UFC fighter or is a UFC fighter, and that's how he got like an initial platform and then
Okay.
started just speaking a lot. And this is the kind of thing, like, if you have a even semi-coherent or consistent message, even if that message is god awful, even if it's like literally you're just a shitty person, if you're semi-consistent about it and you just say the same misogynistic things all the time, you will gain a following because
Yeah.
there's a whole bunch of disaffected men who are really alienated under capitalism and they are looking for somebody to tell them someone to tell them exactly what they want to hear. You know what I mean? They want to hear that, like, no, actually, it's good for you to be like a total asshole to every girl you meet, and then weed out all the ones who can't tolerate that, and then only keep like a whole bunch of like, I don't know, like emotionally fragile girls who, you know, I guess like being treated badly. You know what I mean? Who also are suffering under capitalism and have their own traumas to deal with. It's like this is creating like just fucking go to therapy, you guys. Just go to therapy. Go ahead and play the video.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, I was just, the only thing I'll say is like, I would like to see like the Venn diagram of Jordan Peterson and Andrew Tate listeners, because I bet you the overlapping section is enormous.
Well, the whole reason I even thought to do this week was that tweet that said Andrew Tate is just Jordan Peterson for guys who can't read, because that's perfect. That's a perfect
Right.
encapsulation.
something that's going to weaken me. Why would I believe in something that's going to weaken my ability to deal with problems in life? Why would I do that? I'm temporarily immortal. Do you understand?
What does that mean?
I'm temporarily immortal, and I'm not going to waste my living years believing in things which take power from me, because I'm not an idiot. Real men cry, and if women can cry, men can cry too. There's nothing wrong with it, and there absolutely is something wrong with it, and I'll explain to you why. Life as a man is far more difficult than life as a woman, and one of the key components of man
Sure, bro.
always has been and always will be, we have the ability to control ourselves and not act emotionally. Females
Not
are more
act-
emotionally driven,
what is
more
that accent,
emotionally
dude?
impulsive than a good man.
Yeah, I have no
should
idea.
be. Saying that
His
I felt like
whole
crying, so I cried, which makes
affectation
me a
is
real man,
actually like
is as
really off
stupid
to
as
me.
It's weird, right? It's like the uncanny valley kind of thing.
Maybe his accent's gotten all fucked up from living in Eastern Europe now, because that's the case, right?
No, I don't.
Oh, you don't know about him evading sex trafficking charges by moving to Eastern Europe?
No.
Yeah. I mean, he literally said he went to Eastern Europe because I think the definition of rape, or what they consider rape, is like a little bit more lax over there. So he
That and
just,
all. I've only seen one video of him before this, and I think it's the one that you saw, because he said that like, yeah, something like that, and also that they're a little bit less inclined to go after you for it.
yeah.
So he basically admitted in a single like 30-second stretch that he moved there because he could get away with sexual assault and rape, and I think he actually has pending charges in the U.S. That's what somebody told me. I don't know if that's true. I haven't fact checked that, but
Yeah.
somebody told me he has sex trafficking charges pending in the U.S.
Jesus Christ.
Also, in that same interview, he said something about how it's okay to hit women. Like, I don't remember the quote, but like, regardless of context, it was very clearly like, sometimes you got to hit women.
Yeah, I
and
mean, are you
just-
surprised at all? Like, listen to this guy. Like,
Yeah. And just keep in mind that the title of this video is Andrew Tate Advice for Men, all
Yeah.
capitals, compilation, fire emoji, right? So this is the guy with the best advice for men. Jesus. But yeah, I can't figure it out because his accent sounds different in this video than it did in the previous one. It's like he's like putting the English on a little bit harder. I don't know.
it's weird.
He's saying, well, I felt like smashing his face in, so I smashed his face in. This makes me a real man. No, the hallmark of a real man is controlling himself, controlling his emotions, and acting appropriately regardless of how he feels. And throughout human history, this is exactly how men had to live their lives. Do you think that the teenagers storming the beaches of Normandy felt like crying? Of course they did. But they also knew that that wasn't the correct thing for them to do. They had a duty to commit to, they had honor, and they did what they were supposed to do regardless of how they felt. That is the mark of a man. Weakness and absolute submission to your feelings are not the hallmarks of men. It's not the way society has ever been built. It's never been built off the backs of men who were crying their eyes out because they felt like crying.
That is literally just toxic masculinity defined. It's like men imposing standards on other men and then complaining that they are oppressed. And which is ironic because a lot of dudes will make fun of women, like the misogynistic dudes would be like, "Oh, it's only women who notice when women wear the same thing twice or whatever." It's like, I don't know. They're literally just doing the thing that they're making an oppressive system and then claiming that they are the victims of it. I don't know. You can express emotions all you want. It's just like, yeah, you do have to kind of control yourself in a polite society. You can't just go around like raging out or sobbing all the time. But everyone has to do that, not just men. Women can't do that shit either. Like you have to be publicly appropriate. I'm sorry, that's just we live in a society.
Also, 100% there were teenagers on the beaches of Normandy fucking sobbing their eyes out because
No shit.
it's okay to be afraid in situations like that. Jesus Christ.
Right. I also like that he's, making this broad statement about like the anthropology of men throughout history, right? And the most recent example is a falsification of, like you said, Brandon, of like what Normandy was actually like, right? Like this is the oldest example he can give of when he's saying, "Oh, this is how men have been forever," right? It's like, don't you think you'd want to dig a little bit deeper if you're like a little bit further back if you're going to want to make a statement like that?
If I can derail us ever so slightly, um, born in Chicago, raised in Luton or Luton, England.
Yeah, that
So
Okay.
explains it then.
yeah, weird. But man, if he was raised there, shouldn't he have a more distinct accent? I think maybe this guy is afraid of who he is as a person. Maybe he is the one who really needs to. Do people who want to tell you how to live are usually the people who are trying really hard to figure it out, and I see that in him.
Oh no. Oh no. Do you know what we do for fun here, Brandon?
Shit on other people.
Well, yeah, that too. But yeah, I mean that is what I noticed about this guy. He just comes off incredibly, incredibly
Yeah.
insecure. Like especially when we get to the parts where he talks about relationships. But we'll talk. We'll get.
Yeah, like thou doth protest too much, right? Like
Mhm.
fuck.
He seems like somebody who started fighting because he had something to prove. Well, I mean, he exudes that from every pore, but it doesn't seem like he's really proven anything to himself.
He's the kind of guy that probably puts a lot of stock into dick size, and he's got a tiny dick.
Oh no.
The only kind of men who advocate crying are the kind of men who do not have enough self-control to prevent themselves from crying. Because we're all human. There's times in your life, as a man, you're going to feel like crying. It's going to happen. But what you're supposed to do is not cry. Because this is a test in mental fortitude. And there is no physical fortitude, there's no financial fortitude, there's no other type of fortitude without mental fortitude. So when you feel like crying, you ensure you do not cry. And you act appropriately as a man should.
Go ahead,
The
Paul.
men who say no succumb.
know
No,
what I
no,
do?
no. Nobody who is comfortable with themselves is struggling to hide their accent that
Yeah.
fucking hard.
You know what
It
I like to
slips
do?
out
It's
like
super
every
healthy.
10th word, and it's just now that you have pointed it out to me and I've heard it, I can't stop, and I'm fucking mad about it.
Just when you get emotions, just bottle them up, push them down, and hide them. You just want to not think about them. That's like the healthiest way to respond to any of those things. You know, have you? I'm sure you guys are familiar. The stereotype about like people on the left, like not having fathers at all, or just like having bad relationships with their dads. It's like, why doesn't anybody talk about the stereotype of people on the right having bad relationships with their moms? Because these people,
Right.
like these guys who are toxically masculine, they always come off to me like they just literally have childhood trauma, maybe from their mom or maybe from both parents that they are not dealing with, and they just are emotionally stunted, and they literally cannot deal with the fact that they have feelings and they can't express them in any kind of healthy way. It's just crazy.
Wild thought here. I had a kind of rough relationship with my mom, and I had a lot of issues when I was younger. And I like did do some therapy, and I'm on medication now, and I grew the fuck up, and I didn't start taking it out on all of the people around me, because that's all this idea of masculinity is all projection and domination.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm glad you put it
100%.
that way because you nailed it. Like, especially when we get to relationship stuff. Like, what, Brandon? You don't approach every relationship like it's a combat, like it's literally like a UFC fight. That's weird. Why would you? Why wouldn't you do that?
It's
Yeah, I
like it's
mean,
not. Oh, go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, I was just gonna say, like, we talked about him earlier moving to, Eastern Europe, and I don't know, it just makes me think of like, and this is really broad, but the relationship between the Western world and everywhere else. And I think Eastern Europe's on that borderline where it's sometimes like the global South and sometimes it's not, right? But it makes me think of that whole concept of Orientalism, right? And he's going to, fucking rape exotic women. And it just, the way you said like domination and like dominating people, like that is so wrapped up into this guy's entire mindset and outlook on life, right? And he's just a product of this shitty system in a lot of ways.
If I'm doing like a an armchair diagnosis of this dude, I have watched less than 1 minute cumulatively of him speaking, but I cannot see past the fact that like he seems to have no real sense of control in his life. So he does the domination. Fighting is he can prove something to himself if he can prove that he can assert his dominance over other fighters. He wants to assert dominance over every woman in his life. Even the nature of what these videos are, like advice for men. He's trying to show that he's the alpha. He's in control of himself, and you need to be like, dude. It's so much stuff to prove. This guy is just an onion of fucking. He is a mess. But he won't cry, so at least he's got that going for him.
Yeah, play it, Nick.
Instantly to your emotions are the kind of people who have no self-control. And let me tell you something about men who have no self-control. Men who live without self-control are the kind of men who cry when their girlfriend cheats on them, because she certainly does, because she doesn't respect the little crybaby, and she's only with you because she's ugly as fuck and she has to settle for a little soy boy pussy like you. And these guys sitting there, what they're
Little
trying
soy
to do
boy
to tell you
pussy.
to cry is drag you down to their level. They look at people like me, and I say, Ross, and that's a big G. He's out there, he's fucking women, he's got his Lambo, he's a multi-millionaire, self-made, 6'4", 4-time kickboxing world champion, chess genius. I don't like...
Oh, chess genius, too.
He's kicking chess. You need to cry more. He's
Come
trying
back to
to
that.
drag me down to his level, so I can be a little crybaby like him. And he wants everyone else who reads his tweets to be a crybaby too, because the more little weaklings he can create, the less bad he'll feel about himself. No man wants to be a little crybaby if they're honest with themselves, and no woman certainly wants to fuck a little crybaby. So don't listen to the advice of people who are living lives you wouldn't want to live.
Yeah, because women like love emotionally stunted men, right? That are totally unavailable. That's what women want.
I want to go back because we were just talking about like mommy issues or daddy issues. I want to dissect something that you just joked about. The chess master thing. When I read up to where he was from, one of the things that I saw was that his dad is someone named Emery Tate, who is an international chess master. So what is he projecting there?
With that, yeah.
Yeah.
He just definitely dipped his toes into some daddy issues right there.
That's a good
think-
catch.
I think a big thing that he kind of touched on, again, he'll get on later when he starts talking even more about relationships, but it's just like this whole thing of like this paranoia that your girlfriend is going to cheat on you, and then all the contortions that these guys bend themselves in to prevent that from happening. And it's like, maybe just be like a nice guy. And I don't mean like a nice guy, like trademark nice guy, like those guys, but I mean like an actual good person in your relationship, make them
Yeah.
happy. And maybe people won't want to cheat on you and you don't have to treat it like a competition. Or also just be like a nice enough person that even if you were to get cheated on, then you just move on with your life. You just don't hinge your entire self-worth and your self-esteem on your relationship status. Like if you have somebody to be with, it's just like, I don't know. I mean, I think you guys are probably both in committed relationships. If I got cheated on, it would be a major upheaval, but I would probably just be single for a while, and then
Yeah.
I'm sure I'd find somebody eventually. I'm not worried that I'm going to die alone, but this guy has major worried about dying alone vibes. Like,
That's the thing, and like you said, like, oh, like, the meme of like the nice guy, but there is something to be said about like actually having a good relationship and being emotionally available for somebody, and like actually being able to talk to somebody on that level, right? Without like being like, oh, I don't cry, I can't talk about things like this, right? And it's amazing, like, you don't have to go out and do these shitty things to women. You can find somebody that actually cares if you're like that with them, if you're a true human fucking being.
Well, imagine having a partner like him that is so closed off and can't feel anything. Like he could only have a relationship on the absolute most superficial level possible.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
yeah,
mutual attraction, and they somehow find him tolerable to be around. And that's it, because he can't open up about anything. Like he's 100% in control of everything all the time. So there's no conflict in his life to discuss. Nothing. Just nope. I'm in control. I'm the boss of everything.
Allegedly.
Oh yeah.
What's actually interesting is, I always use this analogy. If you could build yourself from the ground up, if you could literally just, like from a video game, just tick characteristic boxes and build yourself, nobody would choose to be a liberal soy boy. Nobody would choose to be a small, weak guy who has to cry when he gets upset.
Did you have something, Brandon?
No, I'm just like, yeah,
Oh,
I would
I thought,
way rather be that than you.
yeah.
I'm the epitome of soy boy, man. I've been vegan for 20 fucking years.
hey, congrats.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, not 19, coming up on 20.
At the same
Close
time,
enough.
I did want to say that like his thing about how nobody wants to be with like a crybaby or whiner, it's like that's true to a degree. Like I don't think anybody wants to be with someone who is whining and crying and just like, a downer to be around all the time. But I think that like because there is something to be said for just being an adult, whether you're male or female or non-binary or anything, to being someone who can take care of their shit, to being
Yeah.
someone who can like react well in a situation that is stressful or whatever. It's like, but that literally has nothing to do with your gender, like, and it shouldn't. And it's like you're trying to claim all these things as masculine features when it's like that is inherently kind of misogynist because you're again assuming that other people can't be competent, can't be like can't think on their feet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's annoying to me.
I mean, he's painting this like Manichaean world where there's either like this like hard ass, stoic dude, or you're a crybaby soy boy, right? Implying that there's like no like middle
Ah, yes,
ground or
two
nuance in
genders.
between, right?
Why can't I be like a soy boy 2 nights a week? Let me be a little bit soy.
No, just soy boy, 20 years running, and I made that shit hard. One time I told. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, man.
Oh, it's just dumb anecdote. I at my last job that I held for a good long while, I waited 6 months before I let anyone there know that I was vegan, just so I didn't have to hear shit about it.
Yeah,
And
that's
then when
impressive.
it finally came out, one of the guy's responses was, and if anyone's listening, like they can't tell what I look like, but his response looking at me was, "Dude, I assumed you would eat raw meat."
Yeah, Brandon looks like a Hell's Angel.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, actually, that works for spot on. I've been at motorcycle rallies and done the three beers deep defending Stalin thing.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
It went over real well.
When they get that application form from God saying, build yourself for your next life, would tick tall, strong, smart, mentally tough, doesn't cry, gets pussy, rich. They tick all the things.
Please,
that
God,
tell
give me
I'm
pussy.
bad. All
It's
the
so
assets I
insecure.
have, everything that I am, they tell me is bad. But if they had the choice to have these things instantly, they would sign up. And the reason they don't have these things is because all of these things come with hard work. To be physically strong, you have to work out. That's difficult. To be financially independent, you have to be smart. That's difficult. So they don't have these things because they're hard for them to acquire, but they're very easy for them to acquire. They'd have them all. Nobody wants to be a crybaby. The mark of being a real man is not being a crybaby. The mark of a real man is walking down the street, 5 guys with knives coming up to try and rape your girlfriend, and you look at them in the face and saying, fuck you. It's not crumbling into a ball, crying your eyes out and say, I have emotions too.
just want to say real quick, his whole little list that he gave of like qualifications for being able to get pussy, it's like being in shape, having a bunch of money, whatever else he listed. It's like you could be out of shape, you could be broke, you could be a bunch of things that are stereotypically unattractive, and if you just are like charismatic, if you're just like cool and funny,
Funny.
you could absolutely still get pussy. And you can have like any combination of like good features like that. Like you could have some money and then not have any of those other things, but then you're gonna get like some really insincere relationships. It's like this guy only gets away with being so shitty because he has a bunch of money and success and he's like a UFC fighter. He would not be able to like treat women this way if he like worked at a bank. And that's the problem with these guys is that they are influencing dudes who work at banks. And then
Hmm.
they go out in the world and they think that they can act like this guy, and then they're surprised when it doesn't work out well for them and their life
Yeah.
doesn't turn out so well.
When they get their shit kicked in the street.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. It's like the same thing. It's like all the guys that worked at like the fucking hedge funds watching The Wolf of Wall Street, right? And they
Mhm.
think, oh, I'm him, right? Like, no, you're not.
He's not even him.
He's not
in
even
the
exactly.
movie.
He's not even him. This is a fucking movie.
I don't worry about the hedge fund managers because if you're managing a hedge fund, dude, you get the wall anyway. I'm worried about the
Yeah.
fucking 13 and 14-year-olds who are like, I don't want to like go too deep into like some weird philosophical shit that I've been trying to like learn about this week, but like, yeah, this guy's dangerous in terms of how he's if someone's 13 or 14 and they're just maturing to the point where they're having relationships and they're learning anything from him and think that this is in any way normal or acceptable behavior, like if they don't have appropriate role models and such to say like, no, this is wildly not okay, then this guy is going to fuck some kids up.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like, I think this guy is like too dumb to really have like any rock solid kind of coherent political ideology.
No, he's not dumb.
But
He just said he's smart. Weren't you listening?
but like to your point about like this is the kind of shit that like leads people to the alt right, right? Like, I mean, he's talking about like these are the kind of people, the people that would listen to him are the kind of people that like the alt right would actually like get onto because they say, hey, we need to go back to this like traditional society where like women are submissive, right? Like you should have all these things and these are the problems. And they totally fucking miss the mark in terms of what actually like are at the root of society's problems, right? But like you're right, he is dangerous for that like disaffected 13, 14-year-old.
I don't even know how disaffected you would need to be for this guy to be a terrible influence because people can just be really impressionable at that age.
Yeah, no, that's true too.
That just makes you a bitch. Guys come to me and they go, "Well, how should I act?" Like when I've got guys who I train, they go, "How should I act?" And I say, "Why are you acting?" You're like, you have to act a certain way when a woman disrespects you. If a woman disrespects me, I haven't got to act shit because I'm pissed off for real. I'll never talk to her again for real. Like, there's no act. Like, when you talk to me like I'm a dickhead, fine, I'll never reply to you again. And then she'll lose her mind because she's never had a guy ignore her. You know, but to me, it's not an act. They're coming along. What do I do here? What do I do there? You need to become the kind of person who doesn't take disrespect from females. Why are you going to take disrespect from people? Why are you going to have a woman live in your house? And if someone breaks into the house, you have to go downstairs and face an attacker who could have a fucking machine gun. You have to go down there as a man to protect her. But when you ask her for a cup of coffee, she's going to give you attitude. And you're going to accept that shit. You're going to sit there and go, oh, well, you know, she's had a long day. I don't give a fuck how long your day is. I asked for coffee. I pay for this house. I'll risk my life to keep you alive. If you don't want to make me a cup of coffee, that's perfectly fine. Pack a fucking bag. Get out. I've had that exact situation happen to me, and girls go to me, "You're fucking crazy. You're crazy." I'm like, "Bitch, get the fuck out. You're crazy. You're the most crazy." And they'll leave, and then they'll be texting me for fucking months. The crazy man. Then they want
Yeah,
the
that
crazy
happens,
man
I'm sure.
back.
Or they want the crazy bag. Yeah.
I believe it. Do you guys believe that?
Yes,
I believe
I
it.
do for specific reasons. Do either of you know about the clinical research that was done where they basically established like why gambling is so addictive? Because if it's a randomized reward, you come back for it more often. So if you're in a reward system, and they did this with rats initially, if you set it up so that they hit a button and they get a treat, they eventually lose interest. They get full or whatever. If you teach them to do it so that every 5 times they hit the button, they get a treat, they get bored with it, whatever. If you randomize it, so that one time it's after 5, one time it's after 10, one time it's 100 times that they have to hit the button. It becomes addictive because it taps into and addictive might be not be the perfectly like spot on word, but it draws you in and keeps you engaged. And that same sort of thing applies to abusive behavior. When you have a partner who treats you like shit all the time, you eventually there's going to be a time where they're nice to you or they're going to do something that is that reward. And it does draw people in. Like I've been in this situation and I've seen a lot of other people do it where you stay because there's a reward and the reward seemingly wipes everything else in the past away. And even when you become aware that that's happening, it's still a really difficult thing to overcome. It's like knowing you have an addiction and then quitting is
Yeah.
knowing you have an addiction is not hard to recognize, but quitting is hard to do. That same psychological mechanism applies in abusive relationships, and it keeps people coming back and it keeps them around. So, do I think that his life looks anything like what he just described? Fuck no. But I do. Do I believe that he is an abusive enough partner to establish that sort of connection with somebody so that like once he's cut them out, they are fiending for that validation that they only get one every 50 or 100 fights? It's entirely not even just possible. I would say it's entirely likely. This dude is
Mm.
very clearly an abusive piece of shit.
Yeah, this is just like it's almost like literally like a virus for creating trauma and just relationships. Like he's literally having all these traumatic relationships, traumatizing other people, and then instructing all these traumatized already men to go out and traumatize more women. Like it's shit wall to wall. This is terrible. This is so bad for everybody.
Coffee, I'll make the coffee. I'm sorry. I just didn't like the way you said it. Your tone. Bitch, I talk to any tone I fucking want. It's my house. And that's not an act. It's not about being an act. It's just who I am as a person. I'm not a mean person. I'm a nice guy. But there's boundaries and limits, and I have my view of the world, and you comply to my view of the world, and you get replaced.
Do you ever have to apologize, make amends to women for things you've done or said?
Another
No,
reason
I will
for
never apologize.
another reason for full communism. You can't treat people like this if they don't depend on you for housing. If they don't depend
Yes.
on you for things. It's like imagine the kind of relationships people would be in if they were literally just doing it voluntarily. If they weren't depending on anyone for anything material.
No, it's so fucking crazy. And like that's such a big part of like everything going on with like the abortion thing, right? And like the dynamics that like an unwanted pregnancy creates like within a fucking abusive relationship, right? Because you've got another tether in that scenario to a douchebag like this, right? And it's another facet that, it's just going to affect it's just going to affect this dynamic in all the worst ways.
Because I make mistakes. Everything I do is conscious. So even if I do something you don't like,
How do you know that? How do you know that everything you do is conscious?
because I know exactly what I'm doing.
How do you know that?
Okay, give me an example. Okay, so when I say
how,
that, here's
how can you know that? How can any of us know that we're perfectly conscious?
there's no way I've done anything in a relationship and was like, oops, shouldn't have done that ever. Yes, I did it. Yes, I knew I was going to do it. Yes, that was my intention. Yes, I did it. I'm sorry it's hurt your feelings, but I did it because I wanted to do it. So I'm not going to pretend I didn't want to do it. And I really do think that in relationships, especially with women, because I get this all the time from men, because I have a whole bunch of guys who cannot believe, like me and my long-term girlfriends, and they see me posting all these other girls. They're like, surely your girls sleep with other men too. I'm like, no. Oh, but she sees you cheat. I'm like, so. But because there's a whole level of cowardice to
You're muted, Mike.
My bad. I think that's a perfectly healthy relationship dynamic, don't you guys? Where you can never make a mistake. Like literally you never do anything wrong in a relationship. I think that's a very objective adult way to view yourself and your actions, right? You're definitely not just like justifying all your shitty behavior after the fact with some kind of crazy circular logic. That's definitely not what's happening. He's just totally conscious. He's an enlightened being.
Like I live in America. I've clearly seen women be dehumanized before, but the level that he takes it to is blowing my fucking mind.
I do love though he kind of boils it down to the exact epitome of like what like a really insecure guy wants from their partner is for them to be able to just go out and have sex with whoever they want, and she will stay at home and be totally faithful to him. And it's like, bro, if you think that that's actually happening, you're at a level of self delusion that most people will never reach. Like,
You think you're living consciously, dude? You you have no idea.
Never made a mistake.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I
I would
mean,
have thought he would have made at least one mistake at some point, but no, not one.
you don't see women making videos like this, do you?
we gotta
I'm
go down the
sure
rabbit hole.
they're
There's got to be like some kind of toxic femininity, right? There's got to be something.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're out there, but that would be the exception.
Right. Crazy.
Oh my god, if anybody hears this and they know of like, I don't know, what's like the female equivalent of like the red pill, like where they're just like,
Yeah,
maybe,
give us the female Andrew Tate. Give us the female Andrew Tate. We want to see that.
What was God, dude? Years ago, there was a tweet that went viral. I think it was a tweet or whatever, but it was the all sex is rape kind of thing. I'm sure like that level of kind of feminism unhinged
Mhm.
is out there, but I mean, at least that's like do a material analysis of that, and you can at least sort of see that as someone recoiling in horror from the experiences that they've already had, where you can even if you don't relate to it and you don't condone it, you understand that it's coming from a place of fear and trauma,
Right.
as to where this is just vile.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
this
the
is still
only
coming from a place of fear and trauma, but it manifests in a way that's just so extremely harmful to the world.
yeah, it's heinous. Let's keep listening.
Oh,
To lying about things. I think that's what annoys women the most. So I'll give an example. If I have a girlfriend and I go out on a night out and I fuck some, and then she catches me or finds a text message, and I'm like, oh, I don't know who she is. Oh no, it wasn't me. It was my friend. I lie, and then she catches me again, and she knows I definitely did it. Now I've just come across the pussy. But if she goes, what's this? Got drunk, fucked some girl, don't remember her name. I'm really sorry about it. If you want to leave, leave. But obviously I love you. She doesn't matter. So it's up to you. Boom.
basically loves
Like there's a whole degree of, I really believe part of them respects you for that. The part of them are like, at least he didn't lie.
Pause it for a
Like, they
second.
respect how honest.
How about just being honest and say that you want a polyamorous relationship, and then maybe have like equality? Like maybe just say that you don't want a monogamous relationship, and then just be honest about that instead of like saying, "Oh, I want monogamy," and then just cheating all the time. Like,
No, because this dude's insecurities would never, ever allow that to happen for him, right? Like he could never be with somebody that would willingly go out and have sex with somebody else, right? Because it would destroy him mentally and the way he looks at the whole situation, you know? I hear you, but like this dude in particular, he would never do that, you know?
I will say that oh, damn it, I lost my train of thought.
that's right. We'll pick back up on it.
And brutal you are about it. So I don't apologize for anything, even if I do shit they don't like, because I did it on purpose. So why am I'm not sorry. So I'm not gonna lie. So I know I did it.
No, I was a shitty
I'm a good
person intentionally.
Yeah, I don't rob grandmas. I don't steal from nobody. I don't hurt nobody. I genuinely believe I'm a good person. And the world has become so skewed now. If you're a man who believes in himself and has honor and stands up for what he believes in, you're viewed as bad. People think I'm a bad person. I don't really know why. I believe in what I believe in. I live
Yes,
to
you
my
do.
own principles. I don't really hurt nobody. Well, but somehow I'm evil.
Is it painful that people don't see that about you? That you're a good man?
No,
Doesn't bother you?
no, it genuinely doesn't bother me. So a lot of people
Seems like it
Pause it for a
might.
second.
don't care what other people think, and that's a lie. Everyone cares what.
You know, to bring it back to just vulgar capitalism again, it's like you notice how he says, "I don't go around stealing. I don't go around robbing grandmas. I don't go around like hurting anyone." It's like, no, you're going around inflicting emotional trauma on everyone you're in a relationship with at any level, but because you're not taking money from them, now you're just moral. It's funny how that kind of weird system of values works in this society. It's like, yeah, you can just not rob people. It doesn't matter if you're like literally going around emotionally hurting everyone that you're dealing with. And then also this
Not to
whole
mention
thing
the fact that I have seen him say that it. I wish I could knew the exact quote so that I could contextualize it better. But he has advocated hitting women. Now, it wasn't. I don't think it was an admission that he had done that. But it's obviously that if he's saying that that's an okay thing to do. And I don't know how you get from it's okay to hit women to I would never hurt anyone. Like you're literally just like saying a list of things that you do that hurt people, and you admit to like all sorts of violence, assault, but somehow you get back to I'm a good person that never hurts anyone. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but Mike, like you said, like the manifestation of like the preeminence of private property rights versus, just your own like human rights and your, rights to, not be subjected to literally physical violence in this case. It's okay with him, right?
Yeah. But also, real quick, like you said earlier, Nick, him protesting too much. It's like, yeah, I always know that I'm a good person because I'm going on YouTube telling everyone how people don't think that I'm a good person. It's like, and
Yeah.
and you know that I really don't care because I keep going on YouTube videos saying how much I don't care.
I mean, I don't know who this interviewer is, but it seems like he's almost like fucking with him a little bit,
Kind of, right?
right? Like, I don't know. I'll have to look this up later, but the guy just seems kind of
Want to
like,
believe that because I was thinking about that as I watched it, and
yeah,
I can't tell if he's antagonizing him, but like very discreetly, or if he's just on like because he's giving this guy a platform to speak. So I'm inclined to think that at the very least he somewhat agrees.
Well, the fact that it got like this interview made it into the advice compilation is kind of strange to me. On like the
yeah,
Tate, it's like it's on his own YouTube channel, so he must think highly of this clip, and he must not either realize that this dude is like kind of fucking with him because I mean, I guess you kind of have to see the video. Like the interviewer just has this wry look on his face, and just from watching it, it just seems to me that the interviewer is smarter than Andrew Tate and knows exactly what Andrew Tate is doing, which is just going on display with all his baggage for everyone to see. And it's just like the interviewer's like, really? So you just think you're fully conscious? You're just the Buddhist. You're the monk right there. You're the Zen monk.
yeah,
Other people think. Because if you didn't, you wouldn't brush your hair, you wouldn't wear clothes, you would nothing. Like if you really didn't care what other people think, your whole life would be a fucking mess. So we all want to have some kind of social standing. I want, and I've always wanted people to see me as successful and intelligent. And I have now reached a point where those two things are impossible to deny. If you anything else you think about beyond those things, I don't care. Oh yeah, he's smart and he's rich, but as soon as you say but, I don't give a fuck. I've done my job. Most niceness is complete garbage.
I actually think he's a smart guy. I'll be honest. Like I think
show me a nice.
I think the Andrew Tate is an inherently intelligent guy. That doesn't mean he's a well-read guy. That doesn't mean he's actually like looked into anything to back up his opinions or to base them on. You know what I mean? Because that's the whole thing. It's like I've been harping on it a lot lately, but there are so many people, particularly in America, who have very strong opinions based on absolutely nothing, based on like
yeah.
literally just passive absorption of media and headlines their entire lives that they have never once bothered to investigate even the slightest bit. And that's what this guy is. He's just like this guy is not a reader. This guy is, and it's not even that you have to read. Like you can consume any medium. You can literally find stuff on YouTube videos if that's your thing, if that's the way you prefer to consume it. But like, there's a big difference between like pop psychology stuff or like pop history and like just like the mainstream like watered down kind of I guess you would call it like I don't know, really just slick presentations of everything that leave out all the details or nuance of anything. And you can tell that that's what this guy's consuming, and that's why everything is just kind of a regurgitation of I don't know, just like a Western general kind of selfish
Yeah.
mindset. What you got, Brandon?
And in like a sort of philosophical sense, I've had the conversation a lot with various people over the years, and it applies really intensely here of what is intelligence. Because I've known people who could recite facts to you. I met a libertarian guy last year on a crew I was working on that he had like an almost photographic memory. He would watch like these documentaries and retain everything, and he did not know what the fuck to do with any of that information that he absorbed. He had no like process, no analysis, no critique. It's just I saw this thing, they cited 10 facts, I now know 10 facts. I'm
Yeah.
not going to check to see if they're true. I'm not going to see if they were presented. I am not going to pursue any of this information further. I just now know 10 facts.
But you can't
And
critically apply those facts.
yeah, and he would just he loved to tell people like the things that he knew, and like I'm exaggerating somewhat. Like he would usually find ways to make them fit within his narrative. But at no point would I ever consider this guy an intelligent guy. And I personally, I think it ultimately comes down to critical thinking skills. And so that's what I'm thinking here, because one thing I will not take away from Andrew Tate, he has, I don't want to use the word charisma necessarily, but there is something about the way he speaks that holds your attention. Did you want to say something?
No, it's just that what you just said, the way he speaks, and then also like I guess the context in which he could be considered quote unquote smart. I don't know, maybe this is off, but it almost reminds me of like the way Trump is smart. And it's more that like he's got a primal instinct to kind of glom onto certain things. And he's also aware of like what advances what he's trying to present, right? I don't know if it's exactly the same, but like a primal instinct for like being in a certain situation and saying the things that he knows are associated with him and that are going to advance like what he's trying to present, you know? Because I do think like Trump in a way is good at that, right? I don't think he's necessarily, classically wise or intelligent, but he's smart at dealing with certain situations, right? And I
There are
guess I'm getting a
skills
little
that
bit of
are not
that.
intelligence.
Right.
Yeah, it is a weird social skill. Like, I get the impression that if you were to try to talk to this guy about anything, he would just shout over you, and like people would feel like he got his points across better just because they would be willing to just talk. And that's what like people like this do. Like, you can be very confident in your completely uninformed opinions based on nothing, and it will convince a lot of people. And I think that's the problem that a lot of them run into. Like, I think Andrew Tate's fans, just like Trump's fans, run into people in their daily lives or online who are smarter than them and aren't falling for the same propaganda as they are because they're not dumb. And then when these people try to repeat it, it doesn't come off as well as when this guy does it because they don't have his mannerisms. They don't have that skill that this guy has. And it's like, yeah, these guys just stay frustrated.
Well, a thing that I've become acutely aware of because I just started editing our show is how much I fumble over my words, how much I say like or I pause. Mike, you're much more well spoken than I am, but you still do it every now and then. The instances of him using like placeholder words or fumbling over himself when he speaks is nearly fucking non-existent.
Yeah.
And I'm forced to like because he doesn't have any genuinely intelligent takes.
No.
Not one, dude.
Um, any critical analysis at all, even a little bit, any of his arguments would fall apart. He has no internal dialogue that says I should think twice about this. But he can articulate what he thinks and what he feels perfectly,
Yeah.
Yeah.
in so much
But
as
if
he even knows what he thinks or feels.
right. But if you tried to challenge him, he'd be like, "You're a crybaby pussy, like fuck off." And that would
It would be an
that
argument
would be
based
the
entirely on
extent of it.
volume.
I guarantee, yeah, every argument would be he'd have to break it down to the individual level. And it would come down to, well, I'm a UFC fighter. People know me. I've got money. Because the whole thing is like, oh, I don't care what people think about me. As he says, well, of course, I care what people think about me. That's why I wear clothes, and that's why he's like sitting in a super nice house recording this video. But people
Yeah.
play.
Since
I
you
was just
mentioned
making.
the UFC thing, I looked that up too. He has one professional fight and one amateur fight.
Oh Jesus! I thought he was like a famous dude.
Unless his Wikipedia article, which I'm sure he edits closely and would not allow to speak a falsehood, has him listed as having one professional and one amateur fight. Both wins, but hardly enough to validate him as a fighter.
Yeah.
But now he's just because I was reading about him before this, and now he's just getting into the celebrity aspect of it, right? Like I think the whole thing is like he's gonna fight I don't know, one of those stupid fucking Paul brothers
Of course.
or something like that. So it's just
I mean,
falling
he's an
into that
influencer.
vein. Right, exactly.
Well, let's see if we can get to these last 4 minutes in the 15 minutes we have left on our recorded time.
Yeah.
Person, I see a snake. If I meet a person who's nice to everyone, oh hi, oh hi, oh hi. I don't. You know they're full of shit. They don't like everybody. Nobody likes everybody. So there's a degree of integrity and honesty.
Okay, maybe he
that
has
comes
one
with
good take.
Me being dislikable, and that means the people who do like me at least sit there and go, you know what, Tate, like Trump, says what he means what he says. So I don't want to be viewed as nice because that's a whole bunch of garbage anyway. So I don't give a fuck if you don't think I'm nice. I know I'm a good person.
He succeeded
I know
there.
I don't go out of my way to harm anyone. I know I've got a good heart. I know I've done well for people around me. I've never robbed, stolen, never done any of those things. So Yeah, and if that translates across, good, because it's true. So it should.
Don't sit there and like go back to my book and go, what did I write about that? I don't
Exactly. It's
do
who you
that.
are.
Yeah,
And
it's
that's
who
the thing.
you
It
are.
has to become who you are, because if it's not who you are, you can only fake for so long until someone calls your bluff and you get checked. If you fake that you don't give a shit and then she walks out the door and you actually give a shit, game's up. And
Yeah,
it doesn't
you're
matter
done.
how good you are with women. I've had women who I've told to fuck off and they've never texted me again and I've lost them. You
Mm.
gotta be prepared to lose to win.
Yep. That's
You know,
why
like I use chess a lot because I'm a chess
spinning
player.
plates. Yep.
An analogy.
There's the
I
chess
have loads
again.
of guys come to me and they tell me their sob story by email. And they're like, "What should I do?" I'm like, "Leave her." Like, "Oh, but I love her." I was like, "In the situation you're in, the only chance you have of victory is it's like a
What?
queen
Wait,
sacrifice."
pause it for a
All right,
second.
so victory, right? Like
Did
Jesus
you
Christ,
catch what he
it's
said
a
right
zero
there?
sum game of like me winning and dominating a woman. That's it.
The last thing he said was, "It's like sacrificing your queen."
That's a very healthy way to view relationships. I think you should view them as competitions that you have to win every single day. I think that's exactly how you want to go through your life. I think you have to be competing with your partner rather than like trying to build a relationship or a life together. I think
Right.
that's exactly what you should be doing, is competing with each other. That's not stressful at all. I don't imagine why anybody would not want to do that. But like, it's just so fucking toxic to me. And like, this guy, absolutely, you can tell, was a pickup artist. He was definitely into the pickup artist shit.
Like, can you imagine this dude being in like a relationship or scenario where like his partner made more money than him? It
my
would
God.
it would fry. He wouldn't be able to do it. Like he couldn't look at it and say, "Hey, like this is good for us together," because like you said, like we can build something good together and we're in this together. It would just like he would feel totally emasculated.
Okay. Do we think that he feels that the way that he lives or claims to live is actually the way that all men should live?
Can you imagine?
Because like he the way he answers some of the "oh, I got this email" kind of questions, like it kind of isn't super clear to me. But like just mathematically on its face, if you think all men should fuck every woman that they want to, but you don't think that women should fuck any more than the one person they're fucking with, mathematically that does not work out.
Well, that's where we come in. That's where us soy boys come in. Like, we have to exist as placeholder soy boys, and then these guys just fuck all our women for us. Like, I don't know about you guys, but like, I haven't been having sex in my relationship ever. It's all just been this dude. He's been coming over.
And I guess that's how the master race gets created.
There you go, bro.
Fucking-
Cool.
Some chess. Maybe it'll all go wrong. Maybe it'll all go right. But if you don't do the queen sacrifice, you're going to sit there and it's going to be ground down and slowly pressured down and lose the game. You're going to lose the game and time's running out. So you better do something drastic now.
The
Just talking
Hustlers
like a dickhead,
University
walk out the
shop.
fucking door. Maybe you
Put
can
the ad on
shock
the
Trying
bottom
not
there.
to
client.
talk over
If you
his
don't
fucking
shock
recording,
them
but yep.
once, then it was
yeah, like this just reminds me of like the Alex Jones shit where like all of it is predicated upon selling bullshit online, right? Like what kind of we should go on and like paste some like links to the Hustler shop just so people can kind of see. And I don't even know what's on there, but I can only imagine like what the shirts say.
It's going to be
Wait, is
hoodies.
Andrew Tate the love child of Alex Jones and Jordan Peterson?
I
There
mean,
it is.
it was always over. If you leaving is not enough to make her talk to you nicely, how long is she going to sit there until she sucks a new dick?
Right.
Like, are those few weeks really that much more important? Like, but people just ain't got the balls. They're not prepared to take the risk. I've lost loads of girls doing that shit. But the ones who stick around are absolutely and utterly compliant. And that's how you got to be. And this is another reason why I talk about how
Jesus.
important it is to have numbers as a guy. Lots of guys are like, well, what if I just want one girlfriend? I was like, if you want one girlfriend, you better go fuck 20 chicks. And then you're going to end up with one good girlfriend. The world we live in now, like, I'm not saying you
Good
can't
girlfriend
train any
being
girl,
totally
I'm
compliant.
saying some blueprints
Yes.
are better than others. So you need to go out there and you got to run the game a bit to find one that isn't a complete mess to begin with. Like, you're going to pick something. If you're going to fall in love with the first girl you bang, she might have a whole host of issues. Why are you dealing with that shit for? You know, like, you want to build a race car, you want to start with a Ferrari. You don't want to start with a fucking pedal bike. It's the point. So,
Yeah, you
like,
know.
also having the game and being able to have access to lots of females is ultra important. Even if you have the goal of being the trad con, one man, one woman, even if that's your goal, you still need to have access to a whole bunch of chicks, or you're not going to have a good selection. This is the world we live in now. So
Yeah.
I've had guys email me and say, I don't.
Yeah, I mean, I know personally the way that I go about finding the most well-adjusted women that I want to be in a long-term relationship with is to go out preening, make sure I'm like super well dressed, make sure it's all about appearances. You want to go to like the hot clubs where all the other very self-absorbed, most vain people are hanging out. You want to talk to them at a purely superficial level, and you want to be really standoffish and competitive about the whole thing. It's got to be like a really advanced mating ritual where it's all a big competition from start to finish, and that's how you meet the healthiest, most well-adjusted people that you definitely want to be with forever.
Yeah.
I'm saying this partially to make fun of him, but partially out of a genuine curiosity. I wonder what the age range of women he likes is.
Mm.
Because I would assume he likes them young,
Hmm.
criminally so,
Yes.
but without joking at all. I think that he has to like want 18, 19, 20-year olds who like, and I'm not saying this is like young women are this, just young people are more impressionable, and
Yeah.
I can't imagine like somebody who actually has a few years of living under their belt putting up with this bullshit.
Yeah. They've met one Andrew Tate and never again, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Absolutely. You could tell like guys like this, they have to prey on like women who have not been socialized enough to see this guy coming from a mile away. And I think
yeah.
that like it's
He's dated a lot of girls that were homeschooled.
there you go, buddy. You nailed it. Uh,
All right. 2 minutes left to the listeners. So
I didn't know the
Yeah,
15
yes, we
minute
can
video
do
was
it.
gonna take up our whole hour tonight, but whatever.
yeah.
I don't want to be a player, Tate. I want to be a good man. I'm like, well, you better be a player first.
Mhm.
You better be a player first. Otherwise, you're going to struggle. You're going to what? You're going to double down on the first chick you bang.
Yeah.
That's,
I
that's,
get-
a, that's a
I'm joining the Marines in the USA. What do you think? I think you're a fool. You're a fool.
Yes.
Okay, this is unironically his only good take. He has it for all the wrong reasons, but I watched this whole video earlier. This last bit is his only good take of the entire thing.
This is also when he looks the most like Pitbull.
Yeah, dude.
yeah.
You're gonna go die for what? Biden? I'm trying to protect American freedom. Yeah, you're gonna protect the freedom of those people in Nebraska by going over to Yemen and bombing some 13-year-old farmers. Great
Actually
job.
based.
Yes.
Yeah.
Stupid. You ain't protecting
Correct.
nothing but profits for companies that don't care about you. They'll force you to take injections. Which
Correct.
You don't even want.
Well, that's that
Yeah, except for the
that could
injection
get into some that gets into some transphobia shit right there, right?
part.
Or
I didn't hear that part.
well, I mean, maybe he's talking about COVID, I think.
I'm
But
assuming.
They will use experimental vaccines on Army and Marines and shit, so
Oh,
he's
sure.
actually not even that far off there.
I gotcha. Okay. My head's in a different place with all like
I
the
had a friend who left the Navy because they were going to use an experimental vaccine on him, and he was like, "No, fuck that, I'm not taking that." And it actually ended up fucking up a lot of people.
Oh, damn.
Oh,
Okay, well in that case, maybe he's actually still on.
okay.
I bet he does not know about any of that.
I was getting into like I guess my headspace is in this whole like turf thing lately where people are talking about like it's like a big pharma thing to like inject your kids with stuff to that's where I thought where he was going with it, you know. So
We'll save
No,
that
if
for
they
another
wanted to
episode because
make
that'll be a whole nother hour.
yeah.
yeah, let's just
A fool to defend any of these globalist systems. You should only protect yourself and your boys.
That's a red
You should be in
flag.
the war room.
There.
That's what you should be doing.
Now we're off the
Go to war room
rails.
and you should get rich. I fought for myself, became a world champion,
The
got
rails
some money.
quick, too.
Why are you gonna fight for America? You're not gonna get any money. Get your leg blown off. Walk.
So like again, this is why like off the jump because I watched it earlier too, Mike. Like this is why I said the individualist thing, right? Because like yes, like he starts to critique systems, but it's like goes back to fuck you, got mine, right? And like that's the American ethos in a lot of ways, right?
I like that he had 3 or 4 really good takes,
Yeah.
and then immediately like, "No, fuck you, I'll fight for me and my boys."
Yes.
Oh,
Immediately goes to globalists and then ableism. Like fuck people who lost a leg. It's like okay, bro,
Yeah.
what the hell? Like,
Right.
Around one leg, Mr. Limpy, saying, "Well, at least I served my country and I'm proud." And you're Mr. Limpy, G, for what? For Biden? He doesn't care about you. Don't be stupid. Don't be dumb. Limpathon, limp your ass out of my chat.
yeah, that's Andrew Tate, everybody.
so glad I know more about this guy now.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't know. What do you guys think of that one for a first? Fuck it, we'll do it live. I think that's all right. It went well.
About as live as it gets.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it went as well as I think it could have, considering the guy we were talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, then we'll wrap it up there. Everybody, check out the Intervention podcast. Check out the Cars and Comrades podcast. Of course, check out Turn Leftist. And I'm going to try and get everybody together, whoever I can from other lefty podcasts, to do this once a week. And if we can do like a weekly news roundup. But yeah, if we can have a little fun and not have to put too much effort into it, I think this would be a good thing. Do you guys have anything else before we close it out?
Good.
Nah, man, thanks for organizing this. I think it'll be fun.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed this one.
Hell yeah. Can't wait to
I'll
do it
try and be
again.
a little bit more prepared next time.
Yeah, I think we will have plenty to talk about, considering I expected to do like 2 other topics tonight and we just did the one thing.
Well, the
Alright, but
world's
hopefully,
crumbling around us, so we're not short on things to talk about.
Yeah. All right, cool. Everybody let us know what you think of this, and if you guys like it, we will do more. All right, take
Cool.
care, comrades.
Take it easy.
See ya.